horror fam, we're back here with PopHorror. My name is Tracy Allen, and we have a special guest with us today, Adam Steigert.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to speak to you guys, and I follow your work very, I don't want to use the word religiously, but I'm going to use the word religiously. Okay, so we'll go with that.
That's what we like to hear.
Yes, yes.
Excellent. So how are you today? How's things going?
It's going. It's busy. It's always busy,
Yeah.
doing the filmmaker life type style. But yeah, it's been doing really well, and just getting ready to try and figure out development for a new project, which will be fun. But we're not there yet. But yeah, so here we are.
Always going forward, right?
Always. You got to go forward.
Let's jump right into it. So you are a filmmaker. You have lots of notches under your belt. You've got producer, you've got director. So how did you initially get into filmmaking as a profession?
All right, yeah, I originally wanted to act, and where I started from, I'm out of a suburb called Hamburg, out of Buffalo, New York. And when I started, there was no like structure, there was no film community. Now there's a thriving film community in Buffalo, New York. But at the time, there wasn't anything, and so I wanted to act, but I couldn't find anybody really to direct me. So I was trying to act, and it always seemed to fail miserably. So I felt that I was better behind the camera, directing and producing features and shorts and stuff, where my talents could really be used.
I hear actually a lot of stories where filmmakers will say that they couldn't find a project, so they wrote their own and then put themselves in it, So I can totally get behind that. So you said you're from New York and New York State, not New York City, as everyone likes to confuse.
They call us the Queen City, so I mean we're still up there in stature, but we're not New York City,
You're a lot more like the Big Pear than the Big Apple.
Yeah, we're over there, like the stepsister or something, you know what I mean? But we have Niagara Falls near us, which is a great tourist attraction for the Canadian side. It is not super great for the American side, but it is definitely a nice little area. If you've never explored up like Niagara Falls, you should check it out.
I actually
from the Canadian side.
Yes. I didn't get to the Canadian side. I was on the New York side probably maybe 5 years ago, and before COVID and everything. So it was, everyone got to crowd around. We got to go on the boat with the little poncho on.
Yeah, the Maid of the Mist. That's an awesome.
The Maid of the Mist.
Yeah. That's really cool. But I feel like personally, they need to invest some money into Niagara Falls, because if they don't invest something, like you look across the way, and Canada has this like a whole strip of just like awesomeness, and we have a Hard Rock Cafe, I think, is the closest thing that was next to it, if it's still there.
Right. Well, so we are both on the East Coast, which makes things nice. Let's see. So I watched your film, A Grim Becoming.
Yes.
Yes. So, and right away I thought, horror comedy, ooh, my favorite, honestly, my favorite. So that wasn't your first filmmaking project?
No. That was one of the films that I like to call a studio film, because there was money behind making that one, and it was just a really cool adventure to do, and it was something so unique, because A Grim Becoming is a story about becoming a Grim Reaper. Okay, so what would that look like? And when I was in the writing phase of it, I looked at like all the stuff that I liked when I was growing up, like Evil Dead, and then I started thinking of Scrooged, with Bill Murray, and then I started thinking, what about Tim Allen in the Santa Claus? How could you make something like, you think back to how the Santa Claus worked, and how when he knocked off accidentally the Santa Claus off the roof, and then ended up having those powers. So I started thinking a lot after watching Scrooged with Bill Murray, how I could do my own like adaptation in a horror realm of something like that. And the Grim Reaper seemed to be like the right idea. I did a lot of studying with the mythology of death, because when you're speaking of death in itself, you don't want to like like offend any one person because of the way that the like death looks for every one person, religiously or, in your own mind. So it took a lot of work to read. And then there's another book out there that I also like tried to figure out mythology wise called The Death is a Life. Great book. And it also is about a Grim Reaper and how it's about the Grim Reaper. We'll just say, I don't want to get into too much of it because I'm not endorsing it, but it's a great book to read if you get a chance.
The first thing I thought of when I read the description was the show Dead Like Me.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and they're just regular people, they're just regular people who died. And same thing here. He was just a regular guy and he just accidentally saw something he shouldn't have seen. And now guess what, and the fact that he's trying to balance, like his human side and his grim side, I guess you call it. People are thinking he's gone nuts. And
he lifts up one of the skulls in the one, and it was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. He lifts up one of the skulls. The actor Brandon Williams, who plays Raphael Stockford, he lifts up this skull and looks at it and just gives out this wail of a scream. And it's just seeing that in the theater made the crowd go wild. Those were pretty great showings, screenings that is, and they just loved that. That was one of those things that, trying to find an actor, Brandon Williams, who plays Raphael Stockford, he did this parody for like a Jim Carrey Liar Liar. So it was like a fan parody, and I watched it and I'm like, man, this kid has some serious range. And, we started talking, and the next thing you knew, he became Raphael Stockford.
Nice. So to piggyback on that, I was, it's going to sound so uppity, but I was talking to Bill Overs the other day, who was also in the film. Yes. And he had such praise for Brandon. Like, he was like, that kid needs to be on TV. He has comedic timing, like perfect comedic timing. And I was just really impressed that, someone, who may see a lot of actors in their life, find one to, compliment him so nicely.
Now, I'm not sure which version of the film you watch, but there's two versions that are out there somewhere. One's an extended cut that's about 2 hours long, and the other one's the director's cut, which is my version of the film of what I initially thought of. And if you've seen the director's cut, there was a lot more with Bill Oberst in it that we ended up removing. There was this scene, you can find it online on YouTube, of him and Melantha Blackthorne eating peanut butter. And it was one of the most...
I didn't see that.
It's one of the most disturbing scenes you will ever see. And after we get done, I'll have to share it with you. But it's intense if you've never seen it.
I mean, the part with the banana in the garage was bad enough. That was, he pulls off creepy like anyone I've ever seen.
The thing with Bill Oberst in that film is we didn't know we were going to get Bill Oberst, and when we got him, we're like, well, where could we put him? Because most of the film was already casted. So, I said, well, why don't we put him in this father role, or, the father role that is for the individual who passes in the movie, not spoiler alert, but, and we're like, how can we make it that much crazier? And Bill came in with like this spirit of, can I try this? Can I try that? And I'm like, yeah. And it almost morphed into like a different film because of Bill's presence, which was really cool. But it almost even got a spin-off film called Meet the Loonies, which would have been about Bill Oberst and Melantha Blackthorne just being like creepy characters. It was pretty cool.
Like What's Eating Raoul.
Yes.
Creepy.
It actually went so far to get fully funded, and then there were difficulties trying to get certain cast members to sign on, and the film decided it was not going to work out. But anyways, that was another good story. Not many people know that one, to be honest with you, because it's something you don't really share. If something like a project dies, you don't really want to advertise, oh yeah, you have this film and these people were attached and the money was there, but then the one actor didn't want to do it. And it's a thing.
Right. Look at all my dead projects. Woo,
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I also wanted to bring up, I can't remember her name. She played the little girl, the snotty little girl.
Erin Fitzgerald.
She's amazing. Like I at first I'm like, oh, she's just acting like an average preteen, but as she went on and she had all these things happen to her, I was like, wow, she's really got some talent. I was impressed with her too.
Erin Fitzgerald is one of my personal all-time favorite actresses to have ever worked with and have worked with. She, I met her on another film called Ombus Alien Invasion. She played a younger girl. And at the time when she was playing the younger girl, I thought she would be so great in a snobby, like grungy type of role. And she wanted me to kill her off in Ombus Alien Invasion. I'm like, I can't kill a kid because she was like 13 at the time. Like, I just can't do it. But I'm like, if I write something and I can do a way, you know, write it in a way where people will hate you, but would love to hate you, if that makes sense, then we could pull it off. But yeah, so I proposed it to her in A Grim Becoming, and she just loved it. And you know, there's a couple scenes with her in like full prosthetic makeup. She was a young actress, and she really worked for that. She was in some of that makeup quite a bit, and full days, long days, hard days. But I would love to work with her again. She's one of those I have not worked with in a couple of years, but she's one of my favorites.
You gotta hunt her down.
Yeah.
Do you have any funny behind the scenes stories besides the peanut butter thing?
Oh, well, for A Grim Becoming, there's a scene where two Reapers, and I have to preface it like this, two Reapers fight in an upstairs room. And you can see in one of the scenes, one of the Reapers gets pushed into the wall, and it creates this big hole in the wall. That actually was not supposed to happen. And no. And thankfully, the landowners at the time were renovating it because we left a big hole in their wall. And thankfully they didn't throw us out too, because that would have been sucky. But this is a good example of why you get film insurance, because I offered to fix it, and they passed. But that was probably one of those stories I just sat there with my head scratching for a second. I'm like, oh shit, what am I gonna do with this?
Right. Thank goodness that worked out.
Yeah. It's not my only story of somebody falling through something. There's another story I have shooting a film called Prisoners of the Dead, where an actor walked into a room during a rehearsal and like kind of jolted like this and fell through a floor about that far. And yeah, that was interesting. Fun story in that one too.
Yeah, I can imagine. I actually had that same experience, only it was an entire floor. We were cleaning up this building from the 1800s, and the floor just gave way, and I surprisingly landed on my feet like a cat, and just in a different floor in the basement. Like, what? How do I get out now?
You're lucky.
I know.
I was lucky too.
So bad. So then I watched Fang, and I noticed at the beginning of Fang, when the cops are talking, they're like, "Oh, remember that loony character that we arrested for Syria?" I was like, "Ooh!" I was so excited to see that you actually were able to pull that back in. That's pretty cool. Have you been able to do that with other aspects of other films?
If you watch any of my films, you will notice those types of things. And there's not just one, there are several little nods and things, direct connections. There's actually characters that have gotten their own spin-off films from films like Grim Becoming that went on to do other we focused their stories and stuff. Like, I can definitely remember a story from Prisoners of the Dead where we had this guy named Devin, played by Alex McBride, who was an amazing actor, who I ended up saying to him, "You want to make a grindhouse film?" And we ended up shooting Homicidal Vengeance, which is his character from Prisoners of the Dead, which is another story, which is kind of cool. But yeah, we do that a lot. Yeah, we try to, because we're trying to create this whole universe of storytelling called the Goreverse. And yeah, everything's universe building these days, but I've been doing this since Marvel started. So I like to use that as a point of reference. I don't know if you're a Marvel fan, but
not at all. Sorry.
That's okay. Not everybody is, but when that first Iron Man came out and there was that post-credit scene with the Avengers, all I kept thinking about as an artist is how can I now start to create films that connect in some fashion? And I wish I was more diligent with it in the beginning, but I've really perfected it now.
Nice. And it's fun to, not step back into those characters, but to be like, oh, I wonder what so-and-so would do right here,
Mm-hmm.
So and I didn't get a chance to watch it, but the series that with the Grim Reaper. That is that connected to a Grim Becoming or not?
Yes, it is. And there's actually a full, what we did with it, it was originally released as a series, an 8-part series, and then we morphed it into one giant film. It's about 40 minutes long, but that is part of the same universe. And if you like the Easter egg portion of things, you're going to love that film. That one has like Easter eggs all over the place.
Nice.
Some from a Grim Becoming too.
Ooh. So let's see, what else can we talk about Fang? So with Fang, so you had you've said her name like 5 times and I can't remember. Blackthorpe.
Oh, Melantha Blackthorne. Yeah.
Melantha.
Yeah.
So she came back, and I was excited to see her again.
Yes.
And so, what inspired this story? Like this story was really interesting in a way that like something I'd never seen before. So I was thinking to myself, like, where did this come from?
Well, I'm somebody that's grown up on like those 80s slasher horror films of our era, I would say, now that have all had remakes of some sort. But you know, those you know, grungy style films, I like to refer myself as Dawn of the Dead. The original George Romero film is what got me, you know, interested. In my office here, I actually have a plaque of a signed check from George Romero. Wow. I sat and I listened to him speak at times. I had an opportunity to meet him once, but I passed it up. My name has actually been linked to George Romero and on IMDb, which was a huge honor to me at one point. Well, it still is. I don't want to say that, but at the time I was like that was amazing, like my highest, you know, whatever you could say it was, my highest achievement. And you know, George Romero is really why I got into film. And if you watch Fang, there are very similarities. Like there's a character named Ash Williams. There's a character named Chloe Romero. There's
I thought so when I was like, oh, that's just a coincidence.
No, they're done strategically because I wanted to honor what came before while still inventing and creating something new. Fang is, out of all the films that I've done, maybe close to Gore, if you've ever seen that one, or if you've not, is being the most grungy, gross, disgusting. You know, there's such a market out there for it. And sometimes when you're shooting some of the stuff, you know, you're putting ground beef on people. I mean, like in Fang, there's actually a scene with somebody in the basement that has just ground beef caked on him.
It looked like he was eating a real roast at one point.
He was. That actually was. And if you know anything about, actually it was ham, not roast, but if you know anything about ham, you can kind of morph it sometimes into a shape. So we tried to, you know, do that. And mainly the entire cast of that film stayed in that house. So, you know, when Chris, who's the actor playing Eric, was done, he had to go take a shower. Well, he didn't clean the shower out enough, and there was ground beef in the bottom of the tub. Freaked out another actress, and she's like, somebody has to go in there and clean that. So we had to take care of that. But that was a very interesting project, and that was inspired on those 80 horror films. Like I took the vibe. I took the vibe of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. Not really not the old. I'm not a fan of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I might get massacred just for saying that. But I thought it was poorly made. It's an interesting concept, which is what I think Michael Bay did in 2003 with the remake of it. I thought he was able to really put a spirit and a structure into it, much like the Evil Dead remake. I'm still a fan of the originals, but I definitely think the Evil Dead remake is one of the best remakes that we've ever experienced in our time. But yeah, so I looked at those and I said, how can I do my own like sub story where it's like survival horror in a sense, but it's stuck like very remote, you know, in a house, and you got all these windows, and you got cell phones now. How do you find a way to get around all that? And we did the best we could with it. So yeah, you know, that you're talking about one of the characters with the ground beef. His name's Christopher Burns Jr. And I sent him a text, I don't know, 2 a.m. as I'm writing one night. And I'm like, how do you feel about wearing whitey tighties the entire scene? And so when we started doing the makeup work on him, He actually, he got made up by our effects guy, and he didn't look grungy enough. So he sat down in this chair, and I'm like, stand up. And I started pouring blood all over the chair. I poured blood all over him. And then we had some leftover food from the night before. I'm like, go get that ground beef. Let's get that in here too. So
Slap that on too.
we wanted to gross people out is what we wanted to do, and I think we did that.
Mm-hmm.
We had somebody in the theater, I'll never forget this, that actually had to leave the theater during one of Chris's scenes. And originally his scene opens up his scene opens up the film where he's just sitting in a chair. That wasn't originally there. So we moved it, and I'm like, let's just gross these people out right away and let them know what they're in store for. So there you go.
There you go. Kick it off with a boom.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It does remind me though of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, because it reminds me of Night of the Living Dead, because they're all stuck in the house, right? Like you said.
Yeah.
And then also of Texas Chainsaw Massacre because of the real meat. Because from what I've heard, they had some real not so fresh meat going on those. And I think that those films are more of a stepping stone. Like, they were the first films of their kind, so everyone was blown away by them. But we've seen so much since then that when we look back, we're like, not too big of a deal.
We're as a viewer, we're very desensitized to it. So as an artist trying to bring something new to the table, you got to figure out how can you, the formula, it can only work so much, and it's very hard to develop new ideas. And when you finally strike gold and get it, you got to make sure you really do it justice.
Yeah. I've actually tried writing some things myself, and my new thing is to combine genres so subgenres. Like my newest thing that I wrote combines zombies and ghosts. So zombies were once people, correct?
Right.
So those people have souls. And so what happens when you kill a zombie?
Oh,
their ghost comes back. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Don't steal it.
I won't.
Okay. I trust you. I actually have already made a little shorts for it. So it is out there a little bit. It's called Way to Guilt. But no, it's not about me.
Good on you. Because that is something very unique. It's not easy to make a film. And that is an original idea. That goes back to exactly what we were just talking about, trying to create original ideas. And you know what? Good on you. Seriously.
Thank you.
Good on you.
Thank you.
I want to watch it now. You're going to have to share it with me after
I'll
we're
just
done.
share it to you.
Please.
You'll send me a Grim Becoming, and I'll send you Weight of Guilt.
Oh, now we're dealing. Now we're dealing.
Yes, all right, so now we're even. So let's
now
see.
We're even. All right.
Who's gonna owe who? What would you say is your favorite part of all the filmmaking jobs?
Yeah. Probably editing or marketing. Yeah.
Marketing, really?
Yeah, I think I've gotten really into the marketing element of things. Like I'm getting to a point now, like I have 16 or so films that I've done. And, I spent my whole 20s, I'm 35 at the time of recording this. So I spent all my 20s since 20, like, I want to say even younger, since I was in my teens, because I started in high school, but really took it serious in 2008. And I spent all my, like, when people were out partying and doing stuff, I was like focused on let's get a good job so I can afford, to make a movie, which I did. And then I ended up making these films. That was my singular focus. And met a ton of great people along the way. And it's been such a journey to do stuff like this. And I'm continuing to meet some great people as we're meeting here for the first time, Tracy. So, it's a fun adventure to do these things. But I spent 12 hard years of just like nailed to the ground what's the phrase? A hammer to the nail, like grinding. And I didn't focus enough on more of getting it more known. I only looked at my projects as getting locally known. I didn't think about bigger than that. And now that I'm in my 30s, that's all I'm thinking about is trying to get more eyes on my stuff. They may not make millions, and I'm not looking for that. I'm looking just to entertain somebody for a few minutes. And if that's something I can take away from it as an artist, to me, that's the most rewarding thing.
And honestly, if you're happy with it, who cares what everybody thinks? Yeah, it's great for people to like it, But in all honesty, I mean, you put your heart into it, and it's your heart that needs to be pleased, you know? And if other people like it, that's a bonus.
Of course, right.
Unfortunately, it's a little expensive to just do for.
Well, that's the other thing too.
Happy.
I mean, because unless you love doing this, you got to invest in yourself. That is, if you want somebody to take notice of you, you got to invest in yourself. And that is one thing that I started off with. I spent like $10,000 on making a film once, and didn't bat an eye until I started seeing the credit card payments come in, and realized though that was probably the best $10,000 I ever had spent, because it had started me. And then I started finding producers, people coming in wanting to produce my work versus me having to go to my back pocket and say, here's $10,000. But, that's not always how it's been. As I've gotten older, I've tried to get away from producers, not because I don't want to work with them. It's just, I don't know what the right phrasing is, but I basically have just tried to become more self-contained with funding on my films or on the films I work with and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I totally understand that. When we made this short, it's an animation, and we paid for it out of pocket. And because it was animation, it wasn't like a $10,000 thing. It wasn't anything close to that. But we paid for it out of pocket, and that way we thought, like, if someone saw this and then wants to take off from it, they can. But the original idea is ours. No one stuck their finger in it. No one messed with it. Oh, try doing this. What if you do this? We didn't have any of that. So now at least the original idea is out there the way we want to see it. All right. So we asked a lot of filmmaking questions. Now I have some fun questions.
Please bring them.
Yes.
Let's do it.
So my first fun question for you today is, and this might take a minute to think about, and that's okay. If you were going to book 2 movies to show at the drive-in back to back for your friends, like the movies you want them to see together, what would they be and why?
Any movies, or are you talking specifically the ones I've done?
It's up to you.
Oh, well, I mean, I got to do a shameless plug if I'm going to do it for my movies, right? Okay. For my movies, I would do Fang and the Horrific Evil Monsters, or Ombus and the Horrific Evil Monsters. One of those combinations would be good. And if I was just to think outside the box and think, what horror movies would I want to see? I would say the original Dawn of the Dead, and you know what? I'll do it. The remake to Evil Dead. I'll even put that in there. You know what? A little old school with the new school. I'll give it a little dabble. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Nice.
You didn't expect that one that fast, did you?
Most people are like they have no idea what to say, because it's like a kind of an out of the ballpark question. Like, who asked that? No one has a ready answer.
I would say like Goosebumps is probably what we should watch, right? Goosebumps.
We should totally watch Goosebumps.
Goosebumps, yes.
The old ones.
Yes.
The old ones, like just on with that terrible acting and that. They were so wonderful.
You reminded me of a lot of like, Are You Afraid with the Dark? Are You Afraid of the Dark? Do you remember that show?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Goosebumps, the TV show, was something like that. That theme song. I'm trying to think of how it even went now. I don't know.
Yeah, with the dog with the yellow eyes,
Yeah. And they had like a montage of like different looking things in their opening credits, almost like like a Walking Dead type of thing with like the world, but it was like all spooky stuff. Give me one of those. That's my joint right there.
There you go. So, all right, next question. Ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Zombie apocalypse weapon.
Zombie apocalypse weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I recently bought my very first like wrench, like solid wrench, big wrench. Because I have to fix a pipe in my house, so I bought a wrench. They are not as easy to swing around as I thought they once were. So I would not go with a wrench.
Oh, okay.
Can you use like a bazooka?
You could, but finding ammo for it would be tough.
Yes. I feel like the cliche firearm of some sort, like a shotgun, would probably be good. Maybe something with less recoil, because I feel like a shotgun can recoil pretty hard. And you get tired, you got a horde of zombies on you. You can't just continue to shoot a 6 rounds off or something. What are they, 12 rounds or 6? I don't even know which, whenever, what, I think there's
Well, a
6.
shotgun, I think, is 2.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, there you go.
So,
You see, a double barrel. There you go.
like, hold on, let me reload.
Yeah.
You know.
Hold on. Let me put these in. Yeah.
Yeah. My boss, just to give us some backstory as to this question, my boss always said that she would use a shovel, and the reason she would use a shovel is because she would sharpen the end of the shovel and use it as a weapon to cut off zombie heads, and then she would also have a shovel for digging graves for people.
That's good. That's good.
Yep.
But I'm going to tell
Practical.
you, if you're in a horde, if you're in a zombie horde, a shovel is not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. Maybe a machine gun. How about a machine gun? Can I say that? Is that enough?
You could say that. Yeah.
You know, a machine gun. That's what I want.
Okay.
A little, or if I could have a tank that I could just stay in and it had like things you could run over the zombies or something like that. That'd be interesting.
Yes. Fill it up with gas and just tool around, crush everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Although you could just run away from them, because honestly, they're not very fast.
Unless you go with infected. If you go with infected,
Right.
which brings a whole new debate of, are these real zombies or are they just something else?
Like 28 days later, like, what are we working with here?
Yeah. 28 weeks later, I really enjoyed it. I liked 28 Days Later. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was like groundbreaking. I thought it was a great film. I love the movie, but I have this like extra like love for 28 Days Later or Weeks Later, because it has not Ryan Reynolds, but who is the guy who plays Hawkeye? You don't watch Marvel. Jeremy Renner. Yeah.
Yep.
That was like Jeremy Renner's one of his first films, and it was just such a unique concept to bring people back into an area where there was an outbreak and like see how society handled that. You know, it was a very interesting thing to me. I like that whole concept. Although I don't. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just rambling.
I was just saying, you see a lot of films of the I call it one night, like first night, like the first night of the zombie apocalypse, where everyone's like, oh, sure, they're not gonna run and save my family, and like, you know, you don't see a lot of things that show like we've been living in this for 20 years kind of thing, you know, and we've had children grow up in this situation that never knew anything but this situation, you know.
Right.
So it is interesting to see like how you think people would eventually come back from that and build societies, and then like, what would the rules be? Like if someone was on their deathbed, obviously you couldn't just let them hang out with grandma, like you have to, but then you're, again, that person is still a person until he dies, so you don't want to just show him out the door.
Right.
You know? So there's like all these different ideas of different ideas that people don't think about often.
We need that now, because we're getting into a very saturated, in a sense, market of the same type of scenarios, but people love it. Everybody loves to know how the infection starts. You know, that's like the one big fail that Robert Kirkman has done on The Walking Dead, is he just has not explained that. You know, in the beginning, at season 1, are you fan of that one?
Yes.
Season 1, you had the guy go to the CDC, he whispered into his ear some shit, and now, you know, the show's about to end and we don't know what happened. I mean, come on. He
whispered in his ear, we're all infected.
Yes, that's right. You're right. But I thought there was a time, maybe I'm totally mistaken. See, now you're a bigger fan than mine. Than I am. I'm sorry.
I just remember random things.
No, but that's great, because like I feel like they should have explained it. Now, there's a lot of people out there that I think it's explained in the comics somewhere, but I lost interest in the comics after the TV show really started like failing for me. I didn't like season 2. I did not like it.
When Frank Darabont left, that's when the show was like before it was about humanity and trying to keep our humanity. And then after that, it was just like, let's see who he'd kill today, and these people are bad, and let's kill them all.
There was a whole big bullshit thing with him in the studio, and he either got, I don't know, if money got taken away from him, or he wanted to make, like, if I remember the quotes from way back in the day when this is a big thing, because if you remember season 1, it was like a film almost, and the studio wanted to make certain cuts, and then, you know, that's why they killed Dale off so early on, is because when Frank said he was done with the show, the other actor said he was done with the show. So I mean, that's another reason why, like, what's her name? I can't remember her name anymore. Alexandria, Alex, or what?
Andrea.
Andrea, yes, Andrea. But she's like a main character of the whole series, and then you kill her off in season, what was that, 3?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, I digress. You're gonna
That's
get me on
okay.
another soapbox with that.
Oh goodness. Hey, well, we got another 45 minutes now.
We're good. We're good.
I had also interviewed, to stay on the soapbox, because why not? I interviewed. All right, so in season 1, remember when Rick is going down the street on the horse, and then he has to jump in the tank?
Yes.
And then there's a zombie in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
So the original season 2 was supposed to have that zombie's backstory. Like that's what it was supposed to be like the humanity of everything. So and they had this whole story, and I interviewed the actor who played him. His name is Sam Worthington, something. And he was actually in Tales of Halloween as well.
Okay.
But like you could tell there was like heart in it. And that's the thing about what happens in the zombie apocalypse is you're either a Rick or you're a Shane.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Shane right away is just like, we need to just kill everyone that we don't like. And Rick's like, no, we got to keep our humanity. And you could tell it was like season 1. Then by the end, Rick was just like, oh, let's kill everything. Like he like, you know what I mean? He eventually became a Shane,
Yeah.
So it would have been interesting to see the take on it from Darabont's perspective right through.
Yeah. I definitely think he was a huge asset to have. Like he was like really spearheading that project, and to have the loss of him, it just, some of the like we said, some of the things just didn't make sense in season 2, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
And as much as I really liked the actor that played Shane, I'm a big comic book buff guy, and I read the comic series, and I'm like, Shane's got to die. That's like a huge story arc to Rick's character personality.
Right.
So it was a sad day when he left that show. But so did I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Although I will say the well zombie was pretty cool. Remember that zombie that was floating, he was all bloated?
There's been some really cool zombies throughout that series. And to talk about, like, real brief, the 6 separations of all this, that's Greg Nicotero. Greg Nicotero has done, like, his list of horror films is just epic. And he was trained and worked with Tom Savini. The makeup artist I work with, Phil Beath, and depending on which film it is, I've also worked with Jill Jovic, who did Grim Becoming and all that. They were trained at the Tom Savini School of Arts at the Douglas Academy in Philadelphia, I believe is where that is. And I got a chance to go down there because we were molding a character's head for Ombus, and we actually molded it in this building. And we got a chance to like tour the facility, and there were like original props from Creepshow there, and like it was just really, really cool to be a part of that. So, like, in a weird way, and I've met Tom Savini a couple times doing festival runs when I used to go out and do festivals. I've met him. He's an interesting fella, I will say that.
I've met him as well, and there's a book by Jonathan Mayberry. It's called Pine Woods, I think. It's like a trilogy, and he puts Tom Savini in the story, and Tom Savini plays himself like teaching makeup, and then of course the zombies come, whatever. And I was so excited to show it to him, and he was just like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, probably because he's not getting anything off the book. I think that's probably why. But you know what? What are you gonna do? I had a book, or I have a film that actually had a book made out of it, and I never saw any of those proceeds in any fashion. But somebody did, and that's okay. After all these years, I've kind of let it go. But at the same time, there's a book out there. If you search, it's all about zombies and stuff, and you can find it. It's a pretty interesting book. That's one of the things I want to do with my life. I want to, at some point here, I'm going to get tired of directing film. Not because I want to, but if anybody knows directing film, I've done over like 16 projects. It gets tiring. I mean, it's not so much the creative drive. I could create all day, but like, what sucks is trying to go out and location hunt. What sucks? Trying to get people fed. It sucks working a 12-hour day. That sucks. So as I'm getting older, I'm realizing my tolerance for certain things is not the same as it once was. But I'm still here, still looking to make some good stories yet to come. But I'm a little tired.
Yeah, that's why you got to get into animation, man. No locations. You can have any effect you want without the cost. It costs the same to draw an explosion as it does to draw a person.
I thought about producing and directing an animated show, but I was thinking of doing something like Photoshop type of stuff where you would take shots of actual people and then morph them however you wanted to morph them. That's something I've been thinking about doing, because I think the picture would be super ultra sharper than anything on film. And I think if done right, and we know that some things can be done right, it could look really cool. Think of I'm not sure if you're a Cartoon Network fan or were at any point, but Aqua Team Hunger Force. You ever see that?
Oh, yeah.
You did see that with Meatwad and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have like they do it, or they did it. I don't know if it's still on, but they used to do certain types of I want to say types of drawings, like where maybe they would have done a Photoshop type of thing and then just place characters into the scenes. So it's interesting. Got me thinking.
Yeah, the animator we use, his name is Joseph Daniel Rodriguez. He's brand new. He's just a baby. He's like 25 years old, and he created this way of animating where you draw something and then just pivot everything. So if you could do that and get like your 360-degree picture, and then you could take that and do whatever you wanted with it, really, as animation, that would be pretty cool.
You got me thinking.
Yeah.
You're gonna get me in trouble, because right now I'm trying to develop something else, and then I get on this artistic flair. I'll be like, how am I gonna do this one now?
Yeah. See, now we have a project.
Yes, now we're producing together.
That's right. So
we're making it happen. We're making it happen.
Yeah. Even in the middle of an interview, it happens.
Yeah. Hey.
Inspiration.
Any inspiration comes from any form, and if you're a true artist, you can pick up those little things here and there, and away you go. I love what you folks do at PopHorror. I really do. Like, I've been following you for quite some time now. How long have you guys been you folks been doing it now?
2016.
It's been a while. I feel yeah. Good to keep up with it, because a lot of horror sites, they unfortunately putter out after a while. But it's good to see somebody with some stature in that game, really devoted to giving us the news. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that.
We try to be very we have a lot of writers, which is great, because none of them get paid. We don't get paid. I don't get paid. So
that's the life of an artist.
Right. So the fact that we're all doing it for free, you can't be I've seen other site owners who are very all right, I'm going to give you this movie. I need you to have it in by Friday, and I need you to do this and that and that. And then people are like, I'm doing this for free. Why am I watching movies I don't like? Why am I working on a Thursday night at midnight when I have to work tomorrow, And so we've always had the idea of here's what we have. If someone wants to review it, fine. If not, it doesn't get reviewed, and that's fine, because there's plenty of other stuff to get reviewed out there.
Right.
We do have specific filmmakers who will contact us and say, can you review this film, which is fine. And I try to, offer it to everybody else. And if no one else wants to take it, then either me or my site partner, Tori, Danielle Romero, no relation.
Oh, come on.
No, I know.
Come on.
She married into the name, but still it's fitting. It's fitting.
All right.
But if, and if one of us will do it. So we will always take the filmmakers, assignment, I guess you could say, into consideration. But as far as news or interviews or anything like that, we've never assigned anything to anybody. And I think that helps people want to stay, and having them stay, and even if they do one thing a month, if you've got 40 people and they do one thing a month, that's still 40 things.
Right.
And
it keeps your traction going. It keeps your traction going too.
Yeah.
But you have to have a love for what you do with this. I mean, you must really want to, get the horror news out there. I will tell you, a lot of things these days are getting to a point where horror, true horror, like the stuff like Fang or like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or anything else we mentioned throughout today, they're starting to become further and further and further away. And there's nothing coming in to replace these things. Right. And it's good to have somebody out there, a group of people, even, like I said, PopHorror doing it, to help still keep that alive. Because when people start, how do they say it? You're only good if people are talking about it, or something's only good if people are talking about it or something like that. At some point, if
bad publicity is good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I've had my share with that, but that's the truth behind the matter. It's just there's no one producing these types of really grungy horror movies anymore.
And that's the good thing about indie horror. Like, if someone, I've seen a lot of movies, and I've seen a lot of movies from the beginning, from when they first start talking about it right up until when it's made. And there's a huge difference between an indie film that's made by fans and created by people who are passionate. It might not have the best effects and the best acting and the best music, but you know what? The story is good. And you can see that the people are really interested in doing it. And then you've got, if you've got like some big, huge Hollywood movie where there's producers who are like, oh, change this and change that. And everything, nothing is the way it initially was supposed to be. And then say they pick up a book and they're like, we're going to make a movie out of this book. And then you watch the movie and you're like, that was nothing like the book, because so many producers were like, well, I don't think we should have that in it. You know what I mean? So
that's another reason. That's another reason, going back to the producer element, is, everybody wants control. That's the thing. And when everybody wants control, sometimes the vision that what made so much interest starts to get lost.
Yep, definitely. So I think that with indie movies, the vision generally stays true. Yeah. And I think that if anyone were to offer me money to make a big mass market movie, I wouldn't even want to be involved in it, because what's the point? My little tiny voice being involved in this big thing, yeah, it might make some money, but you know what? What's the point of being involved in something that's, someone's going to overrun everything you say anyway,
Well, studio involvement has been a real thing, and it's become even worse over the last couple of years. I mean, again, I don't want to trump on just superhero movies, but if you look at like the Marvel movies and the DC property, which is in shambles, these entities or these groups, they got like valuable IP that they're fond of, like they're just screwing up left and right. And it's because there's too much studio involvement and the vision is being lost.
Right. So, and the people involved in it are not fans, so they don't know what they're messing with.
Absolutely. Yeah. Somebody that doesn't know a thing about James Bond should not go out and make a James Bond film.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I'm all for women in all types of positions, but I know that there was a thing a while ago about trying to cast a female James Bond. I don't think that would work. I don't think that would work, at least in my view, just because of how his story arc. But I think women in horror especially are always lead characters. If you look at any of the films I've done, I've always had mainly they're very female centric, and generally they're the story arc that we follow, and that's just like what I like to watch. I mean, when I think of horror movies, I hate to say it like this, but I'm still a guy at the end of the day. I think of like blood and guts, women running around and sex scenes. Now, those are the three things I think of when I think of like horror movies from the 80s.
There's a reason why people still watch those.
Yeah.
It's not because they're like, oh, bless my eyes from those
I won't watch. I swear.
I won't watch. It's like, come on. Like, and the funny thing is, I know a lot of women in the business, and a lot of women like those movies. So it's not like they're saying, oh, I'm offended that they took advantage of the woman's whatever. They're just like, what an idiot bimbo running around high heels. Like, you know what I mean? Like they don't feel offended by it. They're just like, that person is obviously the dumb one, you know, or whatever. So
see,
so
you
the
know
fact
what?
that people are so afraid to make movies like that anymore.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And even I, as an indie guy, you know, you don't want to piss anybody off these days,
Right.
because you get a group of people pissed off at you, you're done. I mean, that's just how it is as an artist.
Right. And the people mad at you are probably people who would never watch your movie anyway, but they just happen to hear from a friend that this happened in this movie. And now they're like, oh, now I'm upset about that. And it's like, come on.
You know,
just let it be, you know?
I've done, like I said, quite a few movies in my time, and I've read, I've created the cardinal sin of reading reviews, and not all reviews are intended to be read by me. But, you know, if you read on Amazon a review, or if you read somebody's review of the film, or watch somebody that like does like a video podcast of the video or the film rather, you know, you get their interpretations, and I look at all that stuff as notes. So what am I going to do next time around to fix this so that these groups of people start to like it? But you read some comments that are just so horrendously, disgustingly terrible. The worst one that will always stick out of my mind, and I've only gotten one of these, was this director should be shot.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
like,
a little bit. Yeah.
So you're not going to change the way the director makes his movies by threatening to shoot him or whatever.
No.
But if you were to say, well, you know, I think he could have worked on this, or maybe this needed a little help, but constructive criticism, that's going to help out. Like just being out and out rude and thinking to myself, oh, I could sit back here behind my computer and no one's going to, you know, no one knows it's me that's writing this. It's like, come on, why? Why do you have to just go piss on someone's parade like that, you know?
Yeah, and it's a sad day. It's a sad day for some of those films. I mean, there are films that I get tons of praises. Like the other day, I just signed a copy for somebody asking for a copy of The Horrific Evil Monster, so I signed a copy and sent it out to them. But then you get the people that really appreciate the films, and they'll send you messages, and they'll talk about when can we see the character again, because they started catching on now after 15 years of trying to do this. They're starting to catch on that some of these characters have other lives in different stories and stuff. So, that's the other thing too, is every time I've ever done, I call them spin-offs. I don't call them sequels, because when you make a sequel to an indie film, people have got to know what you're making. If you can't go back out and try and start to recreate the wheel all over again and say, this is a sequel. Well, how many people saw the first one, and are we going to make any money on the second one? So new stories, but keeping in the same universe, since anybody likes, those types of concepts.
And then the people who have seen the previous movie can be like, oh, I remember that, and it makes it even more like you feel like you almost have like this this moment with the director where you're like, haha, I saw that too.
You talked about Fang before. There's a book in Fang that you see tons of times throughout the film. When they go to recruit the William Sanders character, he answers the door. He's a detective. He has a book in his hand. That book was from another film called Star, and the Star was about an alien puppet that we had, and basically it was about a writer's life, and he wrote the book that the character William Sanders was reading throughout the entire Fang movie. So there's that. And that does happen again in The Horrific Evil Monsters. In the beginning of The Horrific Evil Monsters, there's another book scene written by the same author from that same movie. So there's so many things out there. You can nitpick any of these films and really get you could really get a good feel off of them, and, a little bit extra enjoyment out of it if it brings you joy,
Yeah. And that's the point, right?
That's it. I'm only here to entertain you.
Right. Scare the pants off you, and hopefully you have a good time doing it, right?
Yes. Cheers. What are you drinking there? Anything good? Cranberry juice? Blueberry
lemonade.
I had a lemonade today. It was raspberry. It was so good.
Yes. Mine's warm now, so it's kind of more sour than anything else, but
hey, it works. It works.
It works. All right. Another random question. If you could pick the mind of any filmmaker or actor or any cast or crew member, living or dead, to get advice from them, who would it be and why?
That one I don't have a quick answer to. There's several people that I would love to have met, but I've really been somebody that's always wanted to do my own thing. I don't want to tell somebody else's story, but I would definitely ask a few questions. I would. Although as far as who I would ask, I'm not really sure. I think I might be very interested in maybe like a Vincent Price. I had the opportunity to meet George Romero and I passed that up. So maybe I'd go back and do that. But yeah, I don't really know. But I think for some reason, Vincent Price, Rodney Dangerfield, those actors, they stick out to me for some reason. Rodney Dangerfield, just to be brief on that, he wasn't anything super amazing, but when he did his stand-up was spot on. I didn't really enjoy all of his movies. I didn't. I was not a big Rodney Danger fan when it came to his films. But you know what? His stand-up was like spot on. I'm losing to a rug.
Yeah.
That's from Aladdin, just so everybody knows. But it was a mock. It was Robin Williams doing an impression of Rodney Dangerfield. And he's like, I'm losing to a rug. Sure.
What do you do when you're not working on film?
When I'm not working on film, I'm sleeping.
Oh, okay.
I work, I would say, if I'm not doing my normal job, I'm doing my other job, and that generally goes long. So I probably put in a good 40 plus hours a week on that too. I sleep.
Okay. Oh, that's a good answer.
As of late, I've been scrolling through TikTok a lot for some strange reason. So there's that too.
You can fall into a TikTok hole that will last a long time. You're like, just one more. And then it's like 3 hours later and you're like,
my hand. I wanted to watch TV. I wanted to watch TV.
Now it's time for bed.
Yeah.
All right. This is my last question.
All right.
What scares you? What are you afraid of?
What am I afraid of? Ghosts.
Ghosts. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not so much afraid other than the fact of seeing one. Like I've caught EVPs before doing sound on films. And
that's cool.
That scared the shit out of me. But I'll have to send you that link after we're done. But I've caught them, I would hate to walk out into a hall and there's a hall this way, and that's why I'm looking that way, just kind of peering now out of my eye. But I would hate to go into a hall and just see somebody standing there like a shadow, just standing there. That would scare the shit out of me. But I mean, well, yeah, exactly, right? But you know what? It would intrigue me too, because like we know they exist. So what are they? Are they us, or is it something else? I mean, what is it?
What do they want?
Yeah, what do they want? And what can I help them with?
Yeah.
Can we communicate? Because I'm scared of death. I think that's why I make so many horror films, is I think ultimately I'm scared of dying and I'm scared of being forgotten. And I think that almost scares me more than the death element is being forgotten. So.
Yeah. And if someone is a true ghost and not a demon or whatever else have you, and they were a person once, like how many, you think of how many questions you would ask, like how many things that we don't know that they could tell us, but they have no way to talk to us unless we have, like ghost detecting.
Yeah, we have a lot of static somewhere or something.
Yeah, or we happen to have that big thing from Stranger Things with all the letters on it. The Christmas lights. Like not everybody has that just in their house.
Right. Give me the light bright. I want the light bright.
Right.
I want to say thank you very much to PopHorror for allowing me to do this. It was great to speak with you guys, and I love what you're doing. So don't stop doing it. If you need some inspiration, I'll throw it at you any day of the week. I love what you guys are doing. I hope we can do this again sometime. It would be great to speak to you.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. All right. Maybe we'll have a project.
Oh, there you go. We need a project.